Your blood runs cold before you even cross the threshold. The moment you step through the iron gates of the Yamamoto compound, every man in the courtyard drops into a 90-degree bow, spine parallel to the floor, eyes welded to the gravel. Not out of loyalty, out of terror. You know the difference. You've known it your entire life, because the man walking ahead of you has spent decades teaching Kyoto that fear and respect are the same thing. Your father, the Blue Dragon. Your gaze catches on the guard stationed at the entrance doors. He stands at rigid attention, a strip of white gauze where his right ear used to be. The wound is still pink, still recent. You know the story. Everyone does. He opened the main gate 60 seconds late one morning. 60 seconds. That was the price. Your father didn't raise his voice. He simply gave the order and walked away. And the screaming echoed through the halls like a lesson carved into the walls forever. The man still serves. That's the cruelest part. You move deeper into the mansion, past lacquered screens and paper lanterns, until you reach the war room, a vast ancient chamber thick with the perfume of sake and the weeping cry of a koto string. The territorial leaders are already seated, men who control vast swaths of this city, men who crush smaller men beneath their boots without blinking, and every single one of them holds his breath when your father enters the room. The meeting begins. One by one, each district leader presents his report. Soldier counts, weapon stockpiles, revenue flowing through the clan's veins. Your father listens with the patience of a crocodile, still, lidded, deceptively calm. He nods. He nods again. And then he reaches the Arashiyama district. The man who rises to speak controls one of the most profitable corridors in the city, a labyrinth of luxury tourism threaded through with rivers of laundered money. His numbers should be strong. They are not. They are an embarrassment. He shuffles excuses together like a bad hand of cards: government crackdowns, policy changes, economic strain, the words falling flat in the heavy air. Your father stares at him for a long, surgical silence. And then he detonates. The screaming tears through the room. He calls the man a disgrace, a hollow shell wearing the clan's colors. He tears into him with a savagery that makes even the hardened killers in the room go rigid. The Arashiyama leader sits there, face crimson, eyes pinned to the floor, swallowing humiliation like broken glass. Then, an alarm bell. Sharp. Urgent. The sound slices through every voice in the room like a blade. No one needs to ask what it means. In an instant, the chamber erupts. Weapons snap into hands. Men surge toward the doors. Your father moves with them, not panicked, never panicked. His massive frame already angled toward the violence outside, already calculating. You press yourself behind the door frame and watch. What you see will live inside you for the rest of your life. Your clan's soldiers are dying in the courtyard. Not losing, dying. Being systematically dismantled by a coordinated enemy force pouring in through the main gates. A loyal captain staggers inside, drenched in blood, barely able to speak. The Earless Guard, he gasps. He did this. He murdered his own brothers at their posts and unlocked the front gates from the inside. A wound that never healed became a door swung wide open for slaughter. Your father absorbs this intelligence in half a second and barks the order. Push forward. Break the encirclement. Open an escape corridor. He takes one step toward the fight. And then, the sound of steel through flesh stops the world. A blade punches through your father's back and emerges from his chest, the tip catching the lantern light in a thin, gore-wet gleam. The hand holding that sword, belongs not to a rival soldier. It belongs to the Arashiyama leader. The same man who sat burning with humiliation just minutes ago. The same coward your father was in the middle of destroying. It had never been weakness in that man's eyes. It had been patience. In one orchestrated heartbeat, every loyal territorial leader in the room is hit simultaneously. Men who had served the Blue Dragon for decades crumple to the floor, choking in their own blood, betrayed by the brothers standing at their sides. The whole council, rotten from within. But your father does not go down. He should. By every law of physics and medicine, he should be dead on the floor. Instead, with a sound that is less human scream and more volcanic eruption, he seizes the blade with his bare hands and tears it out of his own body. The blood that follows is catastrophic. He doesn't stop. In the next 30 seconds, the Blue Dragon of Kyoto becomes something that stops being a man. He moves through the traitors like a force of nature, limbs separating from bodies, the Arashiyama leader's face splitting open under a single slash that robs him of one eye forever. He staggers, shrieking, as your father raises his sword for the killing stroke. A shadow falls. The supreme boss of the rival clan materializes from the darkness at your father's back. One movement, perfect, final. The katana arcs through the air, and the greatest man you have ever known ceases to exist. His head hits the floor before his knees do. What happens next? You will spend 2 decades trying to scrub from the inside of your skull, and never succeed. The one-eyed Arashiyama leader, howling and half-blind, mutilates what remains of your father's body, hacking, stabbing, venting 20 years of humiliation and terror onto a corpse that cannot scream back. When he finishes, he remembers you were in the meeting room. His ruined face splits into something that is almost a smile. He goes looking for you. The room is empty. Your mother found you first. He searches every room with his sword, driving it into furniture, through walls, into closets, hunting with the obsessive fury of a man who knows a living heir is a living threat. When he finally reaches the right room, his blade slides through the thin wood of the closet and connects with warm flesh. He leans forward, excited. Inside, your mother meets your eyes. She strokes your face with a hand that is already trembling. Her expression holds more love than language has ever been built to contain. She pulls a short knife from her sleeve, steps out of the closet, and throws herself at a professional killer to buy you one more minute. She lasts seconds. He crouches beside her and demands to know where you are. She tells him a guard got you out. He doesn't believe her. He knows the mansion is sealed. So he calls 2 of his men over. And what he does to your mother in the next minutes is something that the human mind was never designed to hold. And yet yours holds all of it, witnessed through the crack in the closet door. Your teeth sunk into your own lip, blood running into your mouth, your fists clenched so hard your nails have opened grooves in your palms. You want to come out. Every particle of your body is screaming at you to come out. Your mother's last look keeps you still. The blade comes through the closet wall one final time. You feel it ghost across your neck, a millimeter from ending everything, and stop. The one-eyed man exhales in frustration. And then the sirens begin. Police, flooding the distance. The rival boss appears and issues the order. Leave, now. The Arashiyama leader rails against it, still obsessed with you. until the supreme boss explains in a flat, cold voice that he will personally silence anyone who risks exposure. The threat lands. Boots move away. Voices recede. Silence swells and stays. You push the closet door open. The air smells like iron and extinguished candles. You drop to your knees beside your mother and hold her, really hold her, and something inside your chest that will never fully heal begins breaking then. Your tears fall onto her face. You don't make a sound, not because you're strong, because the grief is too large for sound. When you finally stand, you walk to the main hall and see what the traitors made of the Blue Dragon of Kyoto. The man who made this clan, the man who terrified an entire city, the man who walked into rooms and made kings bow. He is scattered across the cold floor in pieces. The sadness in your chest doesn't leave. It transforms, darkens, hardens into something that has no name in any polite language. You find an oil lamp. You tip it across the silk floors. You strike a match, hold it for one breath, and let it fall. As the fire rises and the smoke begins to carry your parents upward, you make an oath in the old way, spoken aloud, sealed in blood from your split lip. You will find every one of them. You will end every one of them. This will not stop until it is done. 20 years disappear like smoke. Kamagasaki, Osaka. The city's open wound, a district of exhausted men who line up before dawn, hoping someone will need their backs for the day. Cash in hand, no questions. Gone by nightfall. The invisible gears that keep the machine turning. This is where you buried yourself. You hauled freight at the fishing docks in the pitch dark of 3 a.m. You cleared chemical runoff from industrial sites that left your skin burning for days. You took every brutal, anonymous job that kept you breathing and left no trail for anyone to follow. The crown prince of the Blue Dragon's bloodline reduced to a ghost in Osaka's forgotten margins. You allowed it. You designed it. Because the only thing you have been building every single day for 20 years is the moment of reckoning. You are not who you were. The boy who hid in that closet is gone. In his place is something quieter and far more dangerous. A man who has traded everything that made him human for a single, immovable purpose. Naturally, the first target finds you before you find him. One night, walking home from the docks, you sense the tail before you see them. 3 men moving with the particular lazy confidence of people who believe they have already won. Sent by the remnants of the old machine hunting the loose end that escaped. You lead them somewhere dark and narrow. You leave nothing behind worth identifying. After that, you stop waiting. The Arashiyama leader has built himself a new life. He runs a high-end nightclub in Osaka. Neon lights, private floors, the kind of velvet rope operation where money laundering happens in plain sight wearing expensive suits. His men are thick on the floor and at every exit. He believes he is untouchable. He has believed this for 20 years. You spend weeks studying the building's pulse, when the guards rotate, where the blind spots breathe, what route the trash goes out, and what route you go in. You steal a heavy truck. You park it flush against the only exit. You step out and a guard comes at you immediately, loud and posturing. You put a short blade across his throat without changing your expression. Then you find the circuit breaker and cut the power. Darkness swallows the entire club. In the chaos of suddenly blind men fumbling with phone screens and shouting orders, you begin working through the building methodically, moving through the shadows, like something the dark itself manufactured. One by one, the bodyguards disappear, not fought, just erased, soundlessly. When the captain realizes what's happening and tries to consolidate his men, you've already positioned yourself in the narrowest corridor in the building. They have to come at you one at a time. They do. The family katana in your hands is not a weapon in this hallway. It is a ritual. Every swing is deliberate, every step forward deliberate. The bodies accumulate, and the music still hammers through the walls, electronic bass rattling the building while the floors turn red. And your pulse stays flat. Terrifyingly flat. You've been waiting for this night for 2 decades. You feel nothing except clarity. You reach the VIP room at the top. You kick the double doors open. The one-eyed Arashiyama leader lunges from the shadows the moment you enter, driving his blade through flesh with everything he has. He steps back, expecting to see you crumpling. Instead, he sees one of his own men sliding off the sword. A body you placed in the doorway precisely for this moment. In his half-second of confusion, you come from his blind side with a slash that would have ended it right there. But the old snake is not a rookie. 20 years of betrayals have sharpened his reflexes past ordinary human response. He spins, raises his sword, and catches the strike just in time. The steel rings. In the muzzle flash of sparks, his one good eye drops to your blade and goes still. He recognizes it. Your father's sword. A smile moves across his ruined face like oil across water. He says he missed you, young master. And something in the way he says it, mocking, nostalgic, genuinely delighted, ignites the last 20 years all at once. What follows is the most honest thing you have ever done. The duel is savage and ragged and exhausting. Every strike aimed not to wound, but to end. He is skilled. He has always been skilled. But he has never fought someone who has been feeding on black rage for the entirety of his adult life, and eventually that cold fury produces a window. Your blade opens a massive gash across his abdomen, and he goes to his knees, holding himself together with both hands, the floor around him turning dark. He breathes through his teeth and asks if you're going after your uncle next, the boss of the rival clan, his new master. You don't answer the substance of the question. You tell him that everyone in this story has a seat reserved for them below. He spits blood and laughs at you. He says your uncle will kill you. That unlike him, a coward who needed allies and schemes, your uncle is a monster of a different category entirely. You tell him his only business right now is dying. He knows it. His face settles. He looks at you and asks for the finishing blow. The old way, Yakuza honor, you deny him. Instead, you take your blade and cut the tendons behind both his knees. Then you find the most expensive bottle in the room, pour it slowly across the furniture and floor, and walk out. Behind you, the flames begin. The one-eyed traitor, unable to crawl, unable to stand, unable to do anything except scream, will have a long time alone with the fire and everything he chose. You walk to the street. The neon sign buzzes and flickers above you. You don't look back. You return to your room and stitch your wounds in front of a mirror with a crack running through it. The man looking back at you is made of scar tissue and silence. And you have to admit something. Alone in this room with no one to perform for, the Arashiyama leader was right. Your uncle is different. Your mother's diary, the only thing you carried out of the fire, describes him in terms that make your father sound gentle by comparison. A more precise killer, a more patient strategist. And now he commands the largest Yakuza operation in the Kansai region, protected by a small army and 2 decades of carefully constructed power. He does not take unnecessary risks. He has never needed to. There is one advantage you possess that he cannot acquire. You have absolutely nothing left to lose. Japan's weapons laws are total. A boss who lets a subordinate fire a gun assumes the same criminal liability. And a man with that much wealth and power will never gamble it on a bullet. He will always trust the sword. You have no wealth, no power, no future to protect. So you go to the black market and you buy a sawed-off shotgun and enough shells to paint the inside of a fortress. You infiltrate his compound before dawn, while the night is still dark enough to be your ally. The shotgun does not discriminate. At close range, in enclosed stone corridors, the sound alone is a psychological weapon. You move through his men in a devastating combination. Shotgun blast to clear the way. The family sword for everything in reach. The walls streak red. The loyal defenders of the man who destroyed your family are falling faster than they can regroup. And the ones still standing are paralyzed, not by tactics, but by the primal terror of a sound that human bodies were not built to absorb calmly. They don't know you're already empty. When the shotgun flies from your hands, spun away by a pistol shot that shatters bone, you look up and find your uncle standing across the ruined hallway. Pistol leveled, eyes unreadable. He surveys the carnage around you, the bodies, the blood, the impossible mathematics of one man having done all of this. He puts the pistol away. He draws the katana. He tells you that as the last living carrier of the family's noble blood, you deserve something better than a bullet. He is going to give you a proper death, a clean death. He speaks without cruelty, which is somehow worse than cruelty. He wants to end this bloodline with the dignity that the bloodline once commanded. You draw your father's sword and attack. The fight lasts seconds before the truth becomes inescapable. He is better than you, more precise, more economical. Every one of your strikes is predicted, redirected, turned into a step backward. He presses you into a corner, and you can feel the walls at your back and the last of your options evaporating. His technique is flawless. That is the one thing you have that his technique cannot account for. He doesn't understand that you are not trying to survive this fight. You stopped trying to survive a long time ago. When he drives his killing thrust forward, aimed straight through your heart, you do not step back. You step in. You take the blade into your chest, feel it go through, and use the last distance closed between you to drive your own sword into his heart. The two of you fall together. The floor comes up slow like a dream. Your vision is already narrowing at the edges. Somewhere past the sound of your own blood moving through your ears, you hear your uncle say something. 3 words, measured and final and without resentment. Well done, nephew. And then the light leaves his eyes, and he is somewhere past all of it, and you are still here, barely, for a few seconds more. The sirens start. Hundreds of officers flood the compound. You can hear it. You cannot move to see it. They sweep through every room, securing the surviving Yakuza, radioing coordinates, the machinery of the state moving with extraordinary precision. If you could lift your head, you would see the captain directing the operation. You would recognize his face. He is the same man who sold you the shotgun. And here, in your final seconds, is the truth. You were never meant to survive long enough to understand. Your revenge was never yours. 20 years ago, the Japanese government faced an impossible problem. The Yakuza clans were too deeply entrenched to prosecute, too politically protected to touch directly, too embedded in the legal economy to dismantle through ordinary means. So certain people in certain rooms decided to do what governments have always done when the law is too slow. They manufactured chaos from the inside. They identified internal fractures. They found men within the organizations who despised what they were part of. They found your uncle. He had always hated what his family built, hated the mutilated guards and the bodies in the courtyards, and the particular way that cruelty passed from father to son like an inheritance. 20 years ago, he made a quiet agreement with quiet men in an office with no cameras. He would work from the inside, unravel the clans from within, sow the internal wars that would deliver the bosses into handcuffs without a single official fingerprint on the process. The massacre of your childhood was not a power grab. It was the opening move of a government operation. You were never the weapon. You were the wound, the proof of concept that a single surviving heir, burning with enough hate, could be pointed at a target and trusted to do the rest without ever asking the right questions. They didn't need you to succeed. They needed you to create enough chaos for the walls to come down. The shotgun, the captain, the perfectly timed police arrival. All of it scripted, all of it managed. And now the operation is complete. The clans are broken. The arrests are being made. And you are bleeding out on the floor of your uncle's compound, having fulfilled your exact function. A ghost, a blade that the powerful picked up, used, and set down. You never had a name in this story. You were just a ghost in the game of the powers that be.